Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Lies of P. Now, if you've been following the channel over the last couple of days, you'll be aware of the fact that we've been doing a full playthrough of Lies of P, and we finished the game on the Friday live stream, which was a bit of an eventful live stream, as well as a lengthier than usual live stream. We were streaming the game for over 8 hours, and we caught some of the tougher bosses in the game in the later hours of that stream, which led to a somewhat frustrating experience where there was a lot of salt. I was kind of upset. And, it was to the point where I turned off my camera because I wanted to just fully focus on the gameplay. And Fightin' Cowboy even showed up on Discord to kind of like cheer me on and go, come on, man, you can do it. Let's get this done. Let's finish strong and all of that jazz. And it was, it was an interesting live stream, even if there was a wide range of emotions, so to speak. But I did talk to people once we got to the credits cutscene, once we actually finished the game, and I explained, hey, look, I don't really filter myself that much when I'm streaming. So if I'm feeling frustrated, that is going to be the energy that you're going to be feeling on the stream, because I don't really put on a facade or a persona whenever I stream. The experience that you get when you're interacting with me on a live stream, it's pretty much the same experience that you would get if you were to interact with me in real life. So when frustration shows up, frustration is going to boil over, and it is what it is. And, I recognize that. Some people might consider it a flaw or whatever you have. But one of the important things I feel is that I don't really think that I brought that energy into my review of the game, which I posted after finishing the game. Now, in my review, I did have a couple of criticisms that I gave the game. I also had a lot of praise that I gave the game. Like, one of the things that I really enjoyed was the story. I enjoyed the art style. I enjoyed the overall look and feel and vibe of the game. I enjoyed the soundtrack. There were a lot of things that I enjoyed. Even the combat, to an extent, I enjoyed the combat quite a bit. But the combat is one of those areas where I feel like there can be some improvements. One of the criticisms that I made was definitely I feel like the parry window is way too tight. I feel like it should be a little bit looser, considering that the game relies on a lot of parrying to get the job done, and a lot of the bosses have some really erroneous patterns that they go through. That is it just makes it incredibly hard for you to actually parry anything with a window that tight. So, I talked extensively about that in my review and all that stuff. And usually when it comes to a lot of games, I kind of I'll play the game, I'll do my whole streams and all that stuff, and then I'll do a review about the game, and then I move on to the next game and so on and so forth. In some cases, I'll continue playing it and whatnot, but usually in Soulslikes, I tend to I did my playthrough, I did my review, and now I'm going to move on to the next thing. The next thing that I'm probably going to be streaming here in the channel and covering heavily is going to be the new Lords of the Fallen game, because, I'm interested in checking out, seeing the differences that the new team is bringing on to the franchise and seeing what that feels like. But that game is still 2 weeks away or something like that. And for whatever reason, I just decided, you know what? I feel like going back to Lies of P. And I went back to my initial save, which was, if you guys remember, that was the save in where I was playing an advanced build. And I was like, this is not viable. This isn't working. Whew, was I wrong? No, you can definitely make advanced builds work. I don't know if it was just because I wasn't too used to what the game was like, because, that third boss just beat the crap out of me, even though on the footage that you guys are watching right now, we're playing in New Game Plus, and I basically beat that third boss on my first attempt. But that is also after a patch that was applied. So that is one of the things that we have to discuss here today, because that's the reason why I wanted to tell you guys some of the aspects that I criticized about the game, because one of the things that I didn't criticize that much was the overall difficulty. I feel like the game is challenging. I feel like the game is much harder than Sekiro, but I also feel that a lot of those things can be fixed through combat, through, sorting out some of these tight parry windows, like I said, and the overall feel of strength builds versus technique build. Well, I say strength builds, it's called motivity in this game, but motivity builds versus technique builds, and all of that stuff. I feel like there's some overall things that we can swap around without really messing with the difficulty too much. However, earlier today, there was a patch applied to the game, And that patch significantly lowers the difficulty of the game. Now, I can't really do any hard testing because, you know, I'm currently in New Game Plus and I don't feel like restarting the game all over again. I've actually finished the game twice before they applied this patch. So I did the one on the live stream, and then I finished it again yesterday before they applied this patch that makes stuff slightly easier. And, you know, I've become, I would say I've become a little bit better at the game, even though I still find a lot of challenge in it, which is, in a way, I kind of almost feel like that's what keeps me playing in some sick way, where it's like I keep seeing things and I'm like, this was some bullshit. And then I just, you know, respawn and keep doing the same thing over and over. It's like the definition of insanity. But anyway, they put out this patch, and I wanted to discuss this patch with you guys. So let's go ahead and bring up the patch notes here. This is on the official Steam page. They tweeted this out. And by the way, when this thing was announced earlier today, the patch has only gone live on the Steam version and the PlayStation 5 version. For whatever reason, the Xbox version was still in certification. I'm sure it'll be applied shortly. But anyways, here it is. Update notes version 1.2.0. On PlayStation, it's 1.002.00. For whatever reason, on PlayStation, they added 2 zeros to each point of the thing. I don't know why that is. But anyway, let's go over this. Balance changes. Field monster balance changes decrease the HP of certain field monsters. So field monsters, when they're saying this, I'm assuming they're talking about some of those midpoint boss type of creatures, because a lot of them did feel like they had bloated HP. I don't think it was something that I mentioned in my review, but I do remember talking with a lot of people about, yeah, these dudes do definitely feel like they have some really bloated HP, and it takes a long time to kill them, to the point where a lot of them even feel harder than certain bosses. So this, I feel like, is a decent change. I don't really see a big problem here. Let me know in the comment section how you guys feel, because I know that there's a lot of people that absolutely are loving Lies of P more than I am, for sure. But, you know, I want to see how you guys feel about that, because I feel like that bloat was there, but it wasn't something that bothered me too much. I do feel like this is going to improve the gameplay experience overall. Increase the chance of breaking some monster stances and the frequency of stagger. See, this I think is important, because a lot of times it feels like you're not really staggering that much, and staggering is an essential mechanic of the game. So I think that's important. And increase the staggerable window time. This I also feel is important, and the reasoning behind that is because a lot of times you will trigger, like, you know, you'll trigger the staggered state in a monster, but because the monsters in this game are so aggressive and constantly coming after you, you can trigger the staggered state. And after you trigger a staggered state, it just means that the white outline is on the monster's health bar, and then you still have to land a big, heavy charged attack. And because the monsters just become so erratic and they just start spamming you with attacks, you can go through a whole staggerable window without actually being able to stagger the monster and capitalize on it. So I think that is a nice change as well. And then the other thing that says here is decrease the HP of all 3 types of dimensional butterflies. Now, for those of you that don't know what the hell is dimensional butterfly, these are like your crystal lizards in Dark Souls. So they'll have like random materials and upgrade stuff and whatnot that you need. And a lot of the times it definitely felt to me like they did have too much health. So this to me is a welcome change. This doesn't really make things any less challenging. It just makes it easier for you to get the upgrade materials from the butterflies. This one I don't think is a big deal at all. And to me, it's just, okay, now I don't have to constantly reload a thing because I failed to kill a butterfly, you know? So it makes that stuff more tolerable, which is good. Now we have here adjusted the rewards for some monsters, adjusted the drop rate of moonstone type items. I didn't feel like this was a problem. Maybe some people did. I mean, later in the game, you basically have infinite moonstones with the exception of the very last moonstone type. But so basically the game gives you more than enough materials to upgrade as many weapons as you want, all the way to +9, but you can only really finish it up to +10 or +5, depending on the weapon type, because there's a boss weapons and those only go up to +5. You can only really finish like 5 of each, give or take. I don't remember exactly how many it is, because those require the full moonstone. But what I'm trying to say is, it wasn't really a huge deal if you're at the end of the game, but I can see this being problematic if people are trying to upgrade weapons midway through the game. So I think it's a welcome change. It's not really a big deal overall, but whatever. Decrease the drop rate of star fragments. Now, this is an interesting one. Now, star fragments is the material that you use to summon the specter at boss fights. So whenever you get to a boss fight, you can summon a specter, and this specter will help you kill the boss. And decreasing the drop rate of star fragments means that you're going to have less of those specters to help you with bosses. So I don't know. That one's kind of weird because I've used specters pretty much every goddamn time. I don't care. Because these bosses were just like really challenging. Although with some of the changes that they're doing, I might not use specters as often. We'll see. Increase the drop rate of ergo items. These are your hard souls. Kind of neutral on that. Increase the ergo rewards of certain monsters that appear after Lorenzini Arcade. This, I guess, is to allow you to just like farm ergo. Ergo is like the souls equivalent in this game, so you can level up faster or something like that. Not really a big deal. Now, this is what I think is going to be somewhat contentious, and it is definitely the point that I want to get everyone's opinion on. Boss monster balance changes. Decrease the HP of fallen Archbishop Andreas. Now, this right here is one of the first really hard bosses that you get in the game. This was the boss at which point I just straight up re-rolled a new character so that I could respec and to go full motivity, which is the equivalent of a strength build. This was the boss that did it. Decreasing his HP is definitely something that I'm like, I don't know. Because what I really wanted was a parry window that was more manageable. That, to me, was the thing that I really wanted out of the game. I wanted to be able to parry more often rather than just straight up nerfing boss's health. But, you know, that's what they did. They then also decreased the HP of King of Puppets in the first phase. Now, the King of Puppets first phase, I don't remember how hard that was. I kind of feel like I didn't spend that much time on that boss, so it's whatever. Decrease the HP of Simon Manus, Arm of God. This is the first phase of one of those final bosses that I was talking about. And this one, I definitely do that so that I don't have to spend as much time in that first phase. Yes, sure. And then decrease the damage of Simon Manus, Awakened God. Probably yes. Maybe you should decrease that one as well because that boss goes wild, okay? He goes absolutely wild. He's the type of boss that'll be like, okay, I'm going to put this little ball here that's going to shoot like, I don't know, 10 laser lightnings at you, so you have to constantly run. And at the same time, I'm also going to make something in the ground that is going to shoot more like orbital ion cannons at you, 3 charges. So you got to make sure that you dodge at the right moment or also keep running around. And after doing those 2 things, he just goes ahead and is like, and now I'm going to summon the Hand of God, which is going to make a big-ass AoE in a random part of this arena at some point, so be careful. So there's all of these 3 mechanics happening, and at the same time just goes, and now I'm going to spin to win on top of you. And you're like, bro, that's like 4 mechanics all at once. Now, handle it. So that was pretty wild. So them nerfing that boss a little bit, you know, I'm not against that. And then it also says increase the chance to break the stance of Simon Manus, Awakened God. Which, if I remember correctly, the second time that I've defeated the boss, I didn't break his stance once, despite the fact of perfectly blocking a bunch of his attacks. Because there's a grindstone that you have in the game, which basically makes it, for a short time period, it makes it so that every single block you make is a perfect parry. So I saved the 2 uses of that grindstone for the second phase of this boss. And I'm just like, okay, perfect parry. Ping, 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 ping. No guard break. I was like, damn, okay. Use the grinder again. Perfect parry. Ding, 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 ding. Charge attack. Still no break? What is going on? So yeah, he is a bit of a pain in the ass to break. So, you know, those are some of these boss changes. Now, again, this is what I'm saying. It is a little bit contentious because I don't know if changing the difficulty this hard is what you need to be doing. Again, I haven't gotten around to testing all of these. Like I said, I just one-shotted the Fallen Archbishop after this patch. I'm not sure how much easier he is, or maybe like my build is more efficient or whatever. There's another aspect to this, which we'll talk about some more. But again, how do you guys feel about that? Especially those of you that, you know, think that this is the best Souls-like ever, because I've heard this opinion from a lot of people. How do you feel about them just flat out nerfing a lot of these bosses? I'm curious. I'm not going like, oh, Rurikhan first complains game too hard, now he complains game too easy. That's not the energy that I'm bringing here. I'm just curious as to what the overall feel of the community is, because the game is definitely much more accessible now. As to whether or not that is a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not entirely sure, because like I said, this is going to be a game that is going to appeal more for people who are really looking for that super hardcore, hard Souls-like experience. And in a way, them doing this, they're like, well, we don't want this to be just for those people. But at the same time, the parry window is still super tight. So in a way, it still should appeal more to those people, but now you're nerfing the bosses. Like, a lot of these people would probably want the bosses to be even harder. I don't know, because, you know, that's not me, right? I'm not the one that wants giga super hard for the sake of being hard. I want challenging and fun. That's what I'm looking for. But anyway, I'm very interested to hear from you guys. Now, the other thing is, increased the specters' HP and damage. Now, this is the little helper that you can get whenever you are fighting these bosses. And yeah, they just made it so that he's more efficient, he's not going to die as easy, and he contributes more to the fight. I liked having the Spectre mostly as a distraction, so I would like him to have additional HP, sure, you know, have him last longer, whatever. But dealing more damage, I don't know. But then again, he didn't really deal that much damage to begin with. Like, the damage the Spectre was dealing in pretty much most of the meaningful fights was almost nothing. He didn't really contribute that much to it, so it's not a big deal. But, you know, you guys let me know how you feel about that. Now, there's a couple of more changes. These are more like, just like quality of life things. So added the feature to reset the character's level, P organ, and Legion arms at the gold coin tree. Nice. This is actually something that I brought up, which was I wanted the ability to respec much earlier in the game. And functionally, that is what this does. It gives you the ability to respec much earlier in the game, and I think that this is a good thing. Characters created after this patch will now receive 8 gold coin fruits instead of 5 for their first harvest. Don't really care. Not really a big deal. Adjusted the required amount of gold coins to reset characters' level, P organ, and Legion arms. I'm assuming they adjusted it to be lower, so that in order to make it easier to respec. Anything that makes it easier to respec, I think, is a good thing, because I like respecking, I like experimenting with stuff. Doesn't really mess with the difficulty of the game at all, just lets you experiment with different builds, different playstyles. So anything that makes it easier to reset, big win in my book. Additional changes. Players will now be able to carry more weight for each point spent on capacity. Yes, very important. And some of you guys are going to be like, why is this so important? Because everything weighed so friggin' much. Dude, you're constantly struggling with your weight in this game unless you're putting like half of your stat points into capacity, okay? I played the whole game on medium roll because it was damn near impossible to get fast roll unless you were rolling 40 capacity or something ridiculous like that, which is way too much. And at the same time, decreased the weight of amulets that could be purchased with boss ergo. Yes, those boss amulets are friggin' heavy as hell, okay? So that's a good thing. I haven't seen exactly how much the weight has been reduced and how that is going to impact my own builds, but that is a good thing. Players will now be able to land attacks better when they use Fable Arts that consume 3 or more slots. Includes Fable Arts that stack. Yes, I believe that this basically gives you a little bit of poise when you're doing, max level Fable Arts, which such a huge win. This is potentially like one of my favorite things, because there were so many times that, somebody will just sneeze in my direction like, ha! Cancel that level 3 Fable Arts. Like, what do you mean, bro? No. So I actually have been able to land more Fable Arts more consistently since this patch, which is big deal. Successfully performing Fable Art Guard Parry will now break the monster's stance. Fable Arts, here's the interesting thing. The Guard Parry in Fable Arts is actually even tighter than the regular parry in the game. At least it feels tighter than the regular parry in the game. So it's not even something that I usually consider, so whatever. And then there's also supports DualShock 4 and DualSense controllers on Windows OS device. After today's update, if DualShock Sense UI does not appear properly, please follow these steps below. Bug fixes. Fix the bug with Legion Arm Pandemonium. Acid Charge rarely not working properly. I tried using Acid Charge. It is way too slow. It's way too slow for how fast bosses attack you. I kind of feel like that Legion Arm might just need to be reworked or something. Fix the bug that the Legion Arm Pandemonium consumed only Legion gauge when using grindstones. Didn't experience that. Fix the bug Geppetto's face will flicker in the cutscene after defeating Nameless Puppet with graphic quality presets low. Fix the typo of Carlo Collodi in the end credits. PS4 controller settings resetting. There's a couple of more stuff. And ability to proceed to Chapter 3. Interesting. Abnormal actions, passing through doors in unconventional ways. Uh-oh! Uh-oh! Passing through doors in unconventional ways? What have you guys been up to? No, we don't do that. What the hell? I actually have no idea what they're talking about here. But yeah, that is the patch. Now, I'm very curious to hear from you guys. How do you guys feel about this? Basically, Lies of P got easier. So one of the things that I would say is like, look, if you gave this a shot and you have Game Pass and you uninstalled it, because I know that a lot of people were trying to play the game and they couldn't get into it for one reason or another. If you gave it a shot previously and it didn't gel with you, I would still recommend try it now. This is a game that at the very least has like a pretty decent amount of content for you to play through. It has an interesting story. It has a good art style, visuals, all of that stuff. So it's got a lot of good things going for it. And if you were trying it on Game Pass and you uninstalled it because you thought it was too hard, maybe try it now, see if it feels better. And I'm actually curious. Let me know in the comment section down below if you end up trying the game again and if it gelled with you more now that it's a little bit, now that they've eased off on the sweat levels that you need to actually play this game. And yeah, if you bought the game and you've uninstalled it or whatever, but you still own it, check it out again. If you got a refund, hey, it is what it is. I'm not sure that I would still tell you, oh, just get it again, But I think it is important to keep tabs on it because, like I said, it is a very enjoyable game, even if it does have a couple of flaws. And it is a game that has me very excited for whatever the studio is working on next, which if you've seen the post-credit cutscene, you will be aware of what I'm talking about. But yeah, other than that, that's probably going to be it for this video. I should have also mentioned this. I did receive a code for this game. I've said it in my live streams. I've said it in my review. It's just talking off the cuff. But yeah, thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like button, subscribe, bell notification icon, all that jazz. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.